So happy to be here in this Chabad show. I forgot to say, Julius, that I'm actually a descendant of Chabad, part of the Chabad family. So I really feel at home here in Toronto and in this shul in particular. Chag Sameach everybody. Chag Sameach, Yom Ha'atzmaut Sameach. We should all be very happy today because Zeh Hayom Asa Hashem. Nagila v'nismecha bo. We can argue if it's a Tchalta D'Geula or not Tchalta D'Geula. He just likes to argue. But one thing we cannot argue about. We cannot argue about the fact that this is a miracle. This day is a day of miracles. After 2,000 years of exile, Jews came back to their homeland and established their own state, their own sovereignty in their homeland, in the Holy Land. Can there be a bigger miracle than that? So definitely this is a dramatic simcha. All the Arab armies were planning to finish what Hitler did not finish just 3 years before, and were defeated by the minority of the Jews at the time, and later on we took away Jerusalem. Look at those miracles, it's incredible. How can we not be so happy and so thankful to Hashem on a day like this? Yet, there are a few little things to fix, you know. Hashem don't want us to be too bored, so left us a few things to fix, and we will fix it. God willing, we'll do our share, we do what we're supposed to do, and we'll all see each other next time, not here, but in Jerusalem. As you saw in the movie, the whole concept of Manhigut Yehudit is to change the way Israelis are thinking on their own identity, on their own Judaism, as instead of thinking of it as a threat, as something that's going to take away their freedom, see it as their identity, as their way of life, something they're proud of, something that put a real goal, a real vision in front of everybody, religious and secular, Ashkenazi and Sephardi, traditional and left and right. All the Jews should be proud in their identity, should understand that the real message of Judaism is freedom and not the other way around, and this way they're going to have a meaningful life on the personal level, and on the national level. The eyes of the youth will start, sparkle. They should be proud of their state and understand that they are part of a whole chain, a whole history that started with Avraham Avinu. They representing and being part in building a society, a modern Jewish state in the land of Israel that will be a light to the nation. It will be a symbol of the way of life, the right way of life to the entire world. Not only technology, which is very important, the best technology we're going to spread to the entire world. Not only biotech, not only knowledge, not only wealth. We're going to be the richest country in the world, I believe. Not in very long time. But also values, also spiritual message will come out of Zion, and more Israelis starting to understand that. This is the dream. It is not a dream that you can explain to the Israelis in one day. Slowly but surely, this television guy that you saw, Avri Gilad, in the movie, he's a leftist. He's not religious. But he tells you, I started to think about the temple in a different way. It did not happen in one day, but in the 14, 15 months that I'm in the Knesset, I discovered that this message can go through without, of course, moving 1 inch from your beliefs and from your principles. Tonight I want to represent to you the Jewish leadership solution to the what they call the peace process. What is our alternative to the false Oslo process? We have an alternative, as I mentioned, in all circles of life. I believe we have an alternative in the to the economy, the way Israel should function, the way Israel should function economically, the health system, of course the cultural system. We have our Jewish fingerprint. We have what to offer in all circles, but tonight I want to talk about our political solution. Because for 20 years, the left is giving us their solution, and when Benjamin Netanyahu, as the head of the opposition at that time, said that that's wrong, it's something wrong to do, Shimon Peres stood at the Knesset and told him, what is your alternative? What is your alternative? Ma ha'alternativa shelcha? As I remember, and Netanyahu did not have an answer. And the right wing never had a real answer to that question. What is your alternative? What is our alternative? What is the Jewish alternative to bring peace to the Middle East? Well, tonight we're going to bring this alternative, and this alternative that I'm going to represent shortly will be delivered to every Israeli in the coming few months, and we're expecting you, everybody, to help us do so. And once the Israelis will observe the fact that there is an alternative from a Jewish point of view, from who they are, to this so-called peace process that brought us only bloodshed, that brought us only horrors in the last 20 years, they'll pick it up and we'll continue with that. So what is our alternative? First, we have to understand what, as they say, Su Mirav Aseh Tov. What was the problem with the Oslo process? You know, for many, many years, even before Oslo, we're hearing that the basic concept of the peace process should be land for peace. Land for peace. And that is true. Through all history, peace was always based on that concept. The side that won the war got the land, and those who lost the war got the peace. Right? That's the way it works. If you win the war, you get the territory. If you lose the war, and you're lucky, you get peace. Right? That's the way it works. I think the first time in the history of the world, those who won the war supposed to give land, and those who lost the war, not only lost the war, but those who started the war and lost, supposed to get the peace. It's the other way around. The one who wins the war gives the peace. The one who loses the war gives the land. What's going on here? Did we lose the war in the 6 Days War? Why should we, Israel, give the land and not the peace? Did you ever ask yourself this question? Many times. So I hope I'll be able to solve that mystical question. The answer is that yes, in the battlefields, the Israeli soldiers, the heroical Israeli soldiers and commanders won the battlefields. But we never really won the war. And you know why? Because the real war is not between the Jews and the Arabs. The real war is between the Jews and themselves. The real war is a war of identity, a war of dreams, as I named my second book, by the way. The war of dreams. It's the war between the Israeli dream and the Jewish dream. You see, Israel was based upon two contradictional dreams. Two dreams that fight with each other. The Jewish dream that we always had was to fix the world in the kingdom of God in our own land, continue the march of Abraham, the message of one God, to be a nation not like all the nation aside of the nations. Hen am levadad ishkonu bagoim lo yitchashav. This is one of the biggest blessings that we got from the mouth from Bilam HaRasha at the time. A nation aside of the nations, a special nation that enriched the entire world in the message of Hashem. This is basically what Judaism is all about. But the Israeli dream is a different dream. The Israeli dream is Hen am kechol ha'amim. Am kechol ha'amim. Not am levadad ishkon, but am kechol ha'amim. A nation like all the nation. A place among the nation. To be like everybody else. That was the basic Zionist dream. Let's be just like the rest of them. And these two dreams are fighting inside the Israeli society all the time. And the state of Israel was based on the Israeli dream. We tried to create a new nation, an Israeli nation, not that grows up from the Jewish nation, but come instead of the Jewish nation. And the Israeli nation needs the Arabs. Because if only a Jew can be an Israeli, so you stay different. You need also the Arabic to be able to be Israeli. Arab Israeli, right? You need Ahmad Tibi to be Israeli. Then you're a nation like all the nations. We have a new nation based on civilian nation, based on territory, not based on nationality. We always thought that the Oslo process, the Oslo concept, was about peace. The idea of the Oslo process was to bring peace. It will give them land and we'll get peace. But the truth is, it was not about peace. It was about getting rid of these territories in Judea and Samaria that carry on our Jewish identity. When you're walking in Shiloh, that we just saw in the movie, when we standing in Me'arat HaMachpelah or in the Temple Mount, these territories are forcing our Jewish identity on us. These territories, carrying this 3,000 years of message, these biblical territories, forcing our Jewish identity on us. So we have to get rid of them. Now that sounds a little bit conspirative, right? Sounds like a conspiratia, as we say in Hebrew. Okay? But I'm not the only one who's saying that. About 2 months ago, the major architect of Oslo, Dr. Ron Pundak, said the following. He said, I'll say it in Hebrew first, Hashalom eino hamatara. הישראליזציה של המדינה במקום ייהוד שלה, the peace is not the goal. The goal is Israelization of the state instead of Judaism of the state. In other words, the whole Oslo process was not about peace. If it would have been about peace, after the first bus blowing, it should be stopped, right? When it brings only bloodshed, you immediately stop it. Hey, that's not what we meant. But we see that we continue all the time. Why we continue all the time? Because peace was not the target. Peace was not the goal. The goal was a state of all its citizens, Israelizatzia shel hamedina, instead of a Jewish state. The words from the mouth of the major architect of Oslo. A month later, he passed away, by the way. He said the truth and did his share. So now that we understand what this peace process is all about, we understand what a Jewish leadership goal should be. Exactly the opposite. We need a solution that gives us the opportunity to make Israel a real Jewish state, and not a state of all its citizens. That's the goal. If that's the right goal, if that's what God expects us to have in Eretz Yisrael, if that's the right goal, and we'll fulfill that goal, we'll have peace. Now, how are we going to do it? The plan, the Jewish leadership peace plan, has 5 stages. The first stage is complete annex the land, full Israeli sovereignty. Full Israeli sovereignty, full Jewish sovereignty between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean, in every part of Eretz Yisrael that controlled by the IDF, by Tzahal, that was given to us miraculously by God in all those wars, with all the suffer and painful price that we had to pay for it. Annex the whole land. And when I'm saying annex the whole land, I mean no other forces, not in Ramallah, not in Shechem, not in the Temple Mount, of course, only the IDF and the Israeli police. No other forces, no other sovereignty. The last little Arab village, no matter what, in Judea and Samaria, in the Galilee, every Arab village will have a police Israeli station with an Israeli flag, and only policemen with an Israeli uniform. No other forces, just as we had before the Oslo process. This is number one. And when I'm saying no other sovereignty, I mean not only no other national sovereignty, or so-called national sovereignty, I mean also no other religion sovereignty, not Muslim sovereignty on the Temple Mount, not Christian sovereignty on Mount Zion, at the grave of our King David, of David HaMelech, Chai V'Kayam. And stage number 2 is giving the position of permanent resident to those residents, to the Arabs, to the 1.7 Arabs in Judea and Samaria, giving those Arabs who accept the fact that the land of Israel belongs to the Jews and to the Jews only, and accept the total Israeli sovereignty, and don't declare any kind of war, quiet war, of course, any other kind of war on the Israelis, giving them the ability to stay in their homes, getting all the human rights that we took away from our own brothers and sisters in Gush Katif, for example. All the human rights, but not a national political rights. And there's a tremendous difference between the two. And I'll take a minute to explain that. Human rights is something that was given to us by God. So we cannot take it away from each other. We cannot take human rights, we cannot take the right to live, to work, honor each other, and so on. Political rights are being given by states that were made by people. If it's the interest of the state to give political rights, it gives. If it's not it doesn't have to, and to mix between the two, and to say that if you annex the land, you have to give the right to vote, and if you don't, you're an apartheid state, means that the United States of America is an apartheid state because of Puerto Rico, for example, that Hong Kong is an apartheid state, Czechia is an apartheid state, Latvia, 15% of the Latvian people cannot vote in the parliament. So Latvia, which is a part of the European Union, is an apartheid state. England is an apartheid state because England took over parts of Cyprus and did not let all those people that it took under its wing to have the ability to vote in England, and so on and so on. America is not an apartheid state because of a citizen of Puerto Rico, if he goes on a bus, will never be taken off because of the color of his skin. So America is not an apartheid state. Saying that Israel, if it's taking over its own country and not giving immediately the right to vote to those that just yesterday declared war against it, if it's not doing it, it's an apartheid state. It's the biggest lie, and we should not be worried about it. Stage number 3, we should encourage the Arabs and those who wish to leave the land of Israel and find the future in a better place for them. And when I'm saying this, encourage, I mean giving them the ability to sell their homes, what they cannot do today. Today, 15,000 Arabs, and I'm not saying Palestinians because there is no Palestinian nation, but 15,000 already today, without having the ability to sell their homes, because they'll get killed if they will. Yet, they leaving, we should encourage that process to continue. Once there will be a full Israeli sovereignty, they'll be able to sell their homes. We're spending today enormous amount of money on the concept of Oslo. We spent trillion shekels until today on barbed wires, on missiles against missiles from Gaza, on guards in every coffee shop, on trucks of loads of cash that we send to Gaza every month, paying their electricity bills that they don't pay, and so on and so on. It comes out to 11.4% of our income every year. It's crazy. We spent until today enough money to pay the average Arab salary in Judea and Samaria for the next 50 years. We should use part of that money to encourage them to leave and to minimize the amount of Arabs that that stay in Judea and Samaria. Fourth, stage number 4 is a wave, tremendous wave of building and flourishing the land in Judea and Samaria and the entire country. Stage number 4, give the land to the Jews. Give it to you when you make Aliyah to Israel. I'm not talking about giving people money, buy and give for free, but do exactly what they did here in America and Australia and every free state when they wanted to flourish the country. What did they do? They gave you the land, take the land, and build. As long as you build and flourish the state, the land is yours. And this is exactly what the Torah says. This is exactly the Jewish idea. Yeshua gives the land to the 12 tribes before they even take over the land. And we have to, each Jew have to have his own nachala in Eretz Israel. But in the state of Israel of today, it's exactly the opposite. Most of the land, over 90% of the land, belongs to the state, and that's why the prices of the housing are so high in Israel. So change the whole system, flourish the land, lower the prices, make the Jews come, and that's the 5th stage. Encourage Aliyah, big Aliyah, to come from all over the world. And the first Oleh, of course, should be Jonathan Pollard, who will come to Israel under that kind of leadership. This is the alternative. What I just presented to you now is the real alternative to all this nonsense that's going on for so many years, never did and never will bring peace, but only bloodshed and more misery. So we have an alternative in all circles of life, alternative that comes from our identity, and we definitely have a political alternative to this peace process. This alternative, in details, in a whole campaign, should be brought to the Israelis to make sure that they'll pick it up together with the Jewish leadership that will implement it in the Israeli life. This is the future. The future is in our hands. Let's do it. Thank you very much.
We'll now take questions. If you have, just raise your hand. I just asked a request that it be a question and not a speech. Thank you.
Yes, please.
You had mentioned granting permanent resident status to the Arabs in Judea and Samaria. What about Israeli Arabs? And also, the second question I want to ask you is about Israel's plan. How would that affect the fact that Israel is becoming increasingly isolated? So what would you do to address that?
You didn't hear the question.
The first question was, you wanna say it again?
No, you can say it.
Permanent resident status that you would give to the Arabs in Judea and Samaria, what would happen to Israeli Arabs?
Okay. What will happen to the Israeli Arabs while we're giving permanent residence to the Arabs in Judea and Samaria? The Israeli Arabs already have an full Israeli citizenship. If I like it or not, is a different question. I can tell you that I think Israel should change later on, after that peace process will be implemented. We should look to change the Israeli system. Then that will solve the problem also with the Israeli Arabs, but I don't want to get into it right now. The second question was what will be the international reaction to this peace process? My belief is that the way the world treats us is basically the way we treat ourselves. If they see that we believe in ourselves, we truly believe that we represent justice, the world accept that. Today, the Israeli youngsters, the young generation in Israel, and I'm talking about people up to the age of 35 even, feel or live under the impression that they are just visitors in their own country. The country really belongs to the Arabs. Why? Because when Yitzhak Rabin shook the hand of Arafat 20 years ago, and basically declared that there is a Palestinian nation, and they do deserve, and the heart of the land belongs to them. Israelis that, let's say, were 15 years old then, today are 35, started to have their own idea, their own political ideas then at the age of 15, 14, when a person starting to have his, way of mind, לעמוד על דעתו, as they say in Hebrew. So a whole generation grew up in the last 20 years under the impression that the land not belongs to us, because if Judea and Samaria don't belong to us, nothing belongs to us. If the Temple Mount don't belongs to us, but definitely Tel Aviv does not belong to us. So there's a lot of fixing over here that needs to be done, a lot of changing that needs to be done. A very clear message that comes from the Israeli leadership that will have Bezrat Hashem soon. And it says, this is our land, will change the way we see the connection between us and the land of Israel, and when we will see it the right way, also the world will see it the right way. The world is just a mirror to what's going on between us and ourselves. Yes, please.
In the 1920s, the San Remo Conference established that the Jews had possession of Judea and Samaria. Why hasn't that point been argued more extensively?
Well, you're absolutely right. Some of the more decision. Those who say, of course, our right to the land comes from the Torah. Not from some of the more, not from Lord Balfour and so on. However, these decisions of Lord Balfour in England at the beginning of 1917, and then in San Remo in 1920, and also in a few other decisions, put a foundation to what they call today the international law. So it's not only the Jewish law, it's also the international law that is in our side. But all that doesn't going to help you if you yourself saying it's not mine. Which goes back to what I just said before. Think for it. You know, they say Israel do not know how to explain itself. We have a terrible hasbara. You know what hasbara means? Propaganda. I don't know. Public PR. Israel has terrible PR. We don't know how to explain ourselves. It's not true. It's not that we don't invest enough money in PR. It is different. It's much worse than that. We explain our enemies. You know what the basic Israeli hasbara is for the last 40 years? Basically, we're saying the following. Definitely the last 20 years, since the Oslo process started. Basically, what we say is the following. Yes, we came from Europe. We are the last colonialists that came from Europe and took over the land of the poor Palestinian natives. We came in 48 and we took over their land until the Green Line. Then we came again in 67 and we took over the rest of the land until the Jordan River. Well, now, being that we have nowhere else to go, and look what happened to us when we were in Europe, so definitely nowhere to go. That's why we have Yad Vashem. So everybody will understand that we have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. We're stuck here. We cannot leave. So we're going to do the following. We're going to give the real owners of the land, the native Palestinians, we're going to give them what we took away from them in 67, and they will give up on what we took from them in 48. Sounds like a great hasbara, no? And all San Remo and all the decisions and all the nice words are going to help you, but this is what you're basically saying. Okay? You need the Jewish leadership that says something totally different. This is our land. This is the land that God gave us. We have, and our right to the land, you'll be surprised, is not because of the past. Our real right to the land is because of the future. Because of what we're going to grow on that land. The message that's going to come out from Zion to the entire world. This is the real right that we have to that land. Yes, please.
You spoke about encouraging the Arabs to emigrate. How exactly do you do that?
There are two. First of all, as I explained, they looking to leave anyhow. According to their own surveys, I'm talking about their universities in Anajach, in Shechem, and Birzeit, in Ramallah. According to their own surveys, about 60% of them wish to leave anyhow. You're talking about 1.7 million Arabs in Judea and Samaria, which is about between 250 and 300,000 families. That's it. That's what you're talking about. Demographically, by the way, the numbers of Arabs going down, numbers of Jews going up all the time. Demographically, we're winning. Demographically, in 15 years from now, there's going to be 80% majority of Jews between Judea, between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean, without changing anything. So I'm not talking about demographic problem, I'm talking about justice. This is not their land, it's ours. So we should help them continue that process. And I explained that the way we should do it is A, those who wishes to leave, let them go without being killed by their own brothers. Those who wishes to sell their homes should be able to do so, not being slaughtered by their own people, as it is today. In Jordan, by the way, today, in the Jordanian state, there's a death penalty to a citizen to sell his home to a Jew today. With Jordan, which we have peace with. Okay? So this is once we'll take over and it'll be full sovereignty, Israeli police available, there won't be any fear over there because Israel will protect them. They'll be able to do so. And those who do so also get what I call in Hebrew sal hagira. You know there is sal klita in Israel, a basket of all kind of good terms to those of the Jews who are coming. Should be the same thing to the Arabs who wishes to leave, helping them find work, helping them find places to go, and buying their homes, giving money where you need to, and we have that money. But today we invested, as I explained, in continuing the Oslo process, the Oslo bloodshed process in many, many ways. That's yes.
I'd like to answer that question. We're going to start a nefesh b'nefesh for leaving Israel.
We can just switch homes between Montreal and Ramallah. Yes, please.
Rightfully, Hasbara and the lack of the proper diplomacy and PR is what can be done about improving the Israeli education system to prepare the youth before they enter universities and meet the assault of the well-educated Palestinian students who have their rhetoric, and the Israeli students have no defenses. they're not armed to defend themselves against their life and their life.
Well, you're touching a very sore point. You're talking about the educational system. I can give you now a lecture for the whole evening only about that subject. Look, I believe that the basic idea of the state, any state, actually it's not me, it's the Rambam that says so. What is the goal of a state? What is the reason to have a state? The Rambam says, Melech oseh milchamot o mishpat. What should a king, what should a kingdom, a medina what is its responsibility? Security. Outside security, milchamot, and inside security, mishpat. Police, an army, justice system, and protection against your enemies. That's it. The state should not deal with almost anything else. You know how much money the state of Israel invests in education? More than security. The real number are bigger than the defense office. And what do we get in return? Young Israelis at the age of 18 know nothing about their heritage, know nothing. Burim ve'amera, so they say. Know nothing. The whole educational system should be totally different. It should be the voucher system that gives the parents the ability to educate their kids, give them back the responsibility on their kids, and the ability to educate the kids the way they want. Most of the Israelis want a Jewish education, and it should be easily giving to the kids when so much money will be invested instead of in those systems that hide Judaism from the kids. offer that to them. But that's a whole different lecture. Tonight I wanted to talk about the peace plan, not about the educational plan. Yes, please.
Quick question. If you're going to make the Israeli army voluntary and paid for, who do you think is going to join?
Everybody.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll explain the question. I'm in favor of making the Israeli army a professional army, or army of volunteers. The truth is that the army already today is based on volunteers. We can have a much more professional army. Army that's based on people that will know what they do. Army that don't carry on its back thousands and thousands of soldiers that simply do nothing. Okay. Yes, more questions, please.
In practical terms, what do you propose doing about the Dome of the Rock, which is on the Temple Mount? And how do you propose doing it without unleashing bloodshed on an epic scale?
I'll start from the end. Unleashing bloodshed happens when they feel that we don't see ourselves as the owners of the place. It should be only the Israeli police on the mountain, not the Muslim Waqf, not any other kind of sovereignty. Should have the right to pray and just have the right to bring Korban Pesach, for example, which you don't need to start even building Beit HaMikdash for that. You can start do some of the work on the Temple Mount already today, even before. But let me tell you, you know what? I want to tell you something about Beit HaMikdash. Maybe with that we'll finish tonight. You know that lately our Prime Minister trying to fight against Abu Mazen and all the forces in the Arab world who will not accept Israel as a Jewish state, right? Netanyahu says you must agree that Israel is a Jewish state before we continue the negotiation. Why? Because and what do they say? What do the Arabs say? We accept the Israeli state. Period. Why do they say they accept? And by the way, it connects to what I explained before. They do accept the Israeli state. They do not accept the Jewish state. Why? Because if they accept the Israeli state, then they can say, now all the diaspora of the Palestinians, so-called Palestinians, can come into Israel, be Israelis, and that's it. You're going to be very quickly the majority in the state and so on. They understand that the Israeli state, without the Jewish connection, is going to be the immediate destruction of the Jewish state and the dream that we all dream. So they're not willing to accept the concept of a Jewish state. And Netanyahu is trying to force on them to accept us as a Jewish state. Now I'm sitting in the Knesset, and I hear Zehava Gal'on, which is member Knesset. Zehava Gal'on was the head of the Meretz, telling Netanyahu is sitting right there, and saying to him, what are you asking them to accept the Jewish state? Do we need them to decide what is a Jewish state? And Netanyahu answered her, which is not so common that the Prime Minister sitting in the parliament and start arguing from his seat. And I'm listening, what is he saying there? And Netanyahu tells Zehava Gal'on, yes, of course we want peace. But they say there was never Beit Mikdash on the Temple Mount. I don't used to hear those words from the Prime Minister. That sounds very interesting. Netanyahu is talking about Beit Mikdash. He's not such a religious guy, you know. Interesting. What's going on? A few days later, on Friday night, I didn't see it because they keep Shabbat, But the biggest, the most important news program is on Friday night in Israel, on Channel 2, which is the biggest channel in Israel. All the reporters gather together Friday night, and they're interviewing one of these terrorists in Gaza. I think the Oslo process becomes a diplomat. Mohammed Dakhlan, his name. And they're asking him all kinds of questions. Who does he blame to the stop of the peace talks and so on. Suddenly, the most important reporter over there, Ehud Ali, very well-known reporter in Israel, asks Mohammed Dakhlan, and very surprising question. He says, Yasser Arafat said that there was no Bet Mikdash on the Temple Mount. What do you think? Did the Jews have a Temple Mount on Bet Mikdash on the Temple Mount or not? A temple on the Temple Mount or not? I saw it, you can see it on YouTube. Hey, this is the news, the broadcast on Shabbat, not even to religious Jews. What do you care if Muhammad Dakhlan thinks it was a Bet Mikdash or wasn't Bet Mikdash? What does the Prime Minister care if they say there was a Bet Mikdash? What's about this Bet Mikdash thing that makes everybody crazy in Israel? You think about Feiglin, okay, he's crazy, fanatic, religious. Netanyahu, Ehud Ali, Channel 2, Muhammad Dakhlan, yes Bet Mikdash, no Bet Mikdash. What's going on here? I'll tell you what's going on. They're starting to understand. I'm not talking about the right-wingers or the religious people. The entire Israeli society is starting to understand that if you're not longing to the third temple, by foot, by going up there to the Temple Mount, as you saw in the movie, if you're not longing and praying for the third temple, you're losing the first and the second.
True.
Yes, but we know they built the mosque there, so there was
I'm answering. What do I mean that you're losing the first and the second? You see, the Arabs destroying every sign of the temple, and there's a lot of signs of the temple, first and second over there, let me tell you. You'll come with me one day, I'll show you.
I was just there.
Okay, a lot of signs. And they're destroying the archaeology. But worse than that, because we are not there, and because we show that we lost connection, and because we agree not to pray there, and to going there as tourists, not as proud Jews that have any kind of connection over there, they can say there was never Beit Mikdash. And when they say there was no Beit Mikdash and there is no reaction from Israel, it means Israelis has no history, because our history starts and ends with the temple. Our whole history is around that point, the temple, Beit HaMikdash b'Yerushalayim. And when you have no history, you're not really a nation, you're just a religion. And when you're not really a nation, you don't deserve a country.
True.
So without this Temple Mount, and going back to the Temple Mount, without that point that we used to be so much afraid of, because it will bring bloodshed, and it will start fire, and all that. So we were so much afraid of it, but when we ran away from it, we lost the foundation to justify the existence of our state. It's amazing what's going on. So don't be afraid of coming back to the Temple Mount, because this is the only way we can establish a real Jewish state. Okay, Shmuel, you finished selling the raffle tickets? I'll take more questions.
Two more questions.
Two more questions.
And then someone's going
and you decide which ones, because I'm not going to fight here.
Okay. This fellow over there and this young woman over there.
Okay, this fellow over there.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for acknowledging that. You offered a very clear axiomatic distinction between God-given natural rights and state-given political rights, and you very clearly stated that both political and religious sovereignty belong to the state. So I'm wondering if you can unpack what religious rights you can attribute to the category of natural God-given rights for all people.
What religious right? What?
What religious rights are included in natural rights, God-given rights that?
Oh, that's a huge basket of rights. The right to work, the right to live, the right not to be humiliated. Of course, the right to no one can touch your life, no one can take away your property. Basically, everything we did to our fellow brothers and sisters in Gush Katif, we're not allowed to do, not to Jews, not to Arabs. This is human rights. And by the way, and not even get into it, the last thing they're looking for is to vote. It was never part of their culture. There's no Arab country that that have real so-called democracy. There, we should once and for all understand that their initiative, okay, is not to have a state, is that the Jews will not have one. Okay, you know, when Ernst Bevin, you heard the name? Ernst Bevin? Ernst Bevin was the foreign minister of the British men during the British Mandate time. He came up with a white paper that not allowed the Jews to make Aliyah, Exodus, so all that. He was not a big Jew lover, okay? But in 1947, when the UN, when the question of Palestine came back to the UN, him, as the representative of the ruler of the place, the British Mandate, came to the UN to explain what the problem in the Middle East. And he said the following. He said, the Jewish goal in Palestine, as he called it, is to have a Jewish state in the land of Israel. The Arab goal in Palestine is what? That the Jews will not have a state in the land of Israel. And nothing's changed since then. So let's not fool ourselves. And you were the best. Yes.
I want to know what the journalist, how he answered that question. Did he say that there was
Oh. Yeah, I also very much wanted to know how he answered. So Muhammad Dakhlan told Ehudi Ali, look, it's holy to both people. No, he took out from the question. Instead of answering, was there a Beit Mikdash or not, he said, it's holy to both of us. So Ehudi Ali said, I know it's holy to both of us, but I asked you a different question. Do you believe that there was a Jewish temple on the Temple Mount 2,000 years ago? Yes or no? And Muhammad Dakhlan did not answer, and the young journalists felt very uncomfortable where the discussion is going to, and saved Muhammad Dakhlan with a new question, and that was the end of it.
But that meant that he really meant yes. If he didn't say no, then
he
was afraid to say it.
He would not be able to say yes, because saying yes means that there is Jewish people. Saying yes means that the Jews do have history in the Temple Mount, and the Arabs not. You see, it is either us or theirs. It cannot be belongs to both of us. When you say that the Temple Mount belongs to the Arabs, you say there's no place to the Jews anywhere in the land of Israel, and verse 5, and the other way around. Thank you.